our guest today, I'm excited about. I always say that, but I really do sincerely mean that because Clive has such a fantastic body of work. Uh, Concurrently, a new film, Cold Deck, starring Alec Baldwin, Stephen Dorff himself. I mean, just a huge cast. Clive Standen, thanks for your time. It's great to meet you and chat with you.
Good to meet you too. I just got to correct you because it's just come through to me as well. Cold Deck was the shooting title. They've changed the title now to Clear Cut.
Clear
Don't know why.
cut.
These studio execs, they kind of make these decisions and go, it sounds more like a logging film than Cold Deck, but that's what it's called now.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Well, it's fantastic. It's Lionsgate Films. You have a great cast in this with you. The log line for this is so fascinating. Um, a group of loggers discover a meth cook site in the middle of a forest. That to me is the perfect setup for a fun action-filled film. So, how did that project come about for you? Because it looks good, and I think it's just got all the things and elements you would want in an action dramatic story.
It's great. I mean, it's kind of my MO at the moment as well to just play that guy that I love someone with a fire in their belly, stands up to be counted, doesn't back down, but likes to get knocked around before the end. I mean, the characters I play seem to get beaten left, right, and center, but somehow keep getting up and are kind of an unstoppable force. So I read the script from this. It came through a producer I'd worked with before. I did this film in Australia called In Like Flynn, based on an Errol Flynn book that he wrote. I played a really cool character role in that. Had such a good time with those guys out in Australia, and he sent me the script through. And obviously from Taken, I've kind of set up a little business for playing these kind of characters. Kind of I do all my own stunts and these kind of things. So when you work on a film like Clear Cut, there's no time for set pieces and setting up stunt guys and rehearsing for 5 or 6 days. The way that they sold it to me, which is how I got used to doing it on Taken for NBC, is that you come in, yeah, you can talk with the stunt guys, you can work out the stunt routines, but you're going to have to do it all because there is nobody else to step in for you if it goes wrong. And this was no different. I mean, this film by the end of filming, I came back to Los Angeles. We went to see a chiropractor because I thought I'd earned it with all the knocks and bruises. And he was like, "What have you done to yourself?" Because I was getting hit by cars, I was fighting, I was running through forests, wading through lakes and rivers, you name it, anything in the wilderness that kind of they threw at me, I took it on the chin.
I love it. I imagine too, if you're doing your own stunts, that makes it easier for everybody else involved in the production because they know you can do it and probably saves the production somewhere along the line a little bit of money to not have to hire. I mean, shout out to the stunt community, obviously, but it's also great when you do your own stunts because for the viewer, it adds that extra layer, right, for performance and believability.
Well, that's the thing. I still can't do it without the stunt team. They're still there setting up all the routines and things like that. The choreography. They're scouting the locations, making sure it's safe for me. There's a team around me. But what I love about it is I'm not action man in terms of I've not got all the skills that certain stunt guys have got. In Britain anyway, you have to be on the stunt register. You need like 5 disciplines. It can be martial arts, it can be rock climbing, it can be trampolining. There's hundreds of different things. And I know I'm kind of slightly underqualified to be a stuntman, but my MO when I play one of these characters is within reason, I should be able to do what this guy does. He's a normal human being who's getting chased by these crazy meth addicts. He's not going to be doing backflips, spin kicks, running up walls and doing parkour and wrapping his legs around people's necks and snapping them like some UFC, jiu-jitsu expert. So anything he feasibly does, I'm going to be able to do, and I'm going to have to get my face on camera doing it, and it's going to hurt him. So it's going to hurt me. I just have the added advantage of hiding pads underneath my body, so I don't actually break bones and things like the character does.
Yes, I will agree with you. Just thinking about all the projects you've done, you have taken quite a beating. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, just going through your filmography and TVography, Obliterated. I mean, Vikings, of course, Rollo, Taken, which was great. Uh, Camelot. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of physicality involved. When you started out as an actor, was that something that you had decided early on when you were making these choices that you wanted to be the one to do as much as you possibly could, as safely as you could?
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. There's still things that people push the envelope and they're like, "Hey, do you want to jump from this cliff to this cliff?" And I'm like, "No. If you've got some guy that's trained to do that, then yeah, I'm the first to back down." I kind of tend to always. I'm an overthinker in life, and I'm an overthinker when it comes to stunts. I'll think about every single thing that can possibly go wrong, and then go through every avenue of what would go wrong and what goes right and what I would do. And if that kind of pros and cons thing doesn't add up, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this, or we'll find a way of doing it where it's safe. But it comes from, I mean, I was an international Muay Thai boxer when I was a kid. I wasn't acting. You know, some kids are acting at the age of like 10, 11 and in stage schools and things. I wasn't. I was doing that. I was kicking an elbow and punching my way through my days, training every day. And then I accidentally found a stunt group when I was 14 years old when Robin Hood Prince of Thieves came out at the cinemas, like in 1991-ish.
I remember
Um,
that.
it was big, and I grew up in Sherwood Forest. So Sherwood Forest were asking for a stunt team to be assembled so they can reenact the Robin Hood and do a live action kind of like jousting, sword fighting, running through the forest with tourists kind of getting taken on this kind of like interactive, immersive show. And I was cast as Wolf Little. And for me, it was I'd finished school on a Friday, drive with a load of these crazy, half of them were gypsy crazy nutcases who had made their own armor and real swords. And I loved it. I'm a gypsy by heart as well. And we would camp in Sherwood Forest Friday night, wake up really early Saturday, set up shop, and just do stunts. So I was learning to joust at the age of 14, kind of like literally just hold this, hold on tight, slap the horse and go. It wasn't like I'm an expert horse rider. I was just trying to survive. But it kind of gave me that taste for the action, taste for the stunts, but also I learned very early what was safe and what wasn't safe and what my body was capable of. And the martial arts, bizarrely, is obviously helped with Taken and things like that with the actual choreography, but it's also helped with learning to take a fall, learning to absorb pain, and not tense up and roll with the punches. And it's kind of enabled me to just go that little bit further than the average actor in an action set who does just go, I'm paid to do the acting. This guy takes over. I can kind of bridge the gap somewhere.
I love that. And also, you have a background in theater too, which is very cool. Plays, musicals on the West End and things like that. Was that your introduction into acting? Did that come first or did that come later for you?
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, I come from a small town, so it wasn't like everything was available to me. And
Right.
now I live in Los Angeles, and there's acting classes, acting coaches, schools have got their own magnet.
Everywhere.
So yeah, it's great. That wasn't available to me. So I just took, when I did decide I wanted to act, I just took what was available. So, amateur shows that were, one of the first things I did was like the Return to the Forbidden Planet. And they needed a guy a robot, Robbie the robot in the Forbidden Planet. They needed a guy who could rollerblade. And I was like 15, 16, just kind of, I was like, I'll give it a go. Learned to rollerblade, did this little character. I can't sing to save my life, but they were like, do you want this kid that can rollerblade and play a robot and he can give his songs to somebody else to sing? Or do you want like some, aging amateur dramatics kind of actor that lives in the town who can't rollerblade, who's going to walk around trying to be a robot? That was literally my first thing I did. And then I joined the National Youth Theatre and the National Youth Music Theatre of Great Britain, and that's when everything changed. I was able to do a professional play at Shakespeare's Globe with Eddie Redmayne. Eddie Redmayne and myself were the leads of that. And then suddenly I'm doing professional theatre, working with these amazing theatre directors that are in the West End of England, and they were kind of working with the kids and the youth of Great Britain. And then I got to do some plays at Royal Albert Hall and in the West End. So I suppose it started with theatre, and then I got into drama school, which is 3 years of intensive training. And at the end of it, you hopefully leave with an agent, but you've done maybe 20 plays for everything from modern to Shakespeare. And that's where, a basis of where I've learned my craft comes from.
I love that. I find what you do so fascinating because it's so different than what most people would do in an 8 to 5 job. But it's fascinating too. What were those first conversations like, Clive, with friends, family, when you made the decision to head to Hollywood and really just take a swing at this? Because I mean, it's crazy to the average person that would hear that would be like,
Yeah.
no, don't do it. But you obviously were determined and have made it happen for
Yeah,
sure.
it was crazy to me. You just reminded me of a story from the very beginning. Where I go back to like when I was at college, when I was like 15, 16, when I talked about that Return to Forbidden Planet play that I did. Um, I people on TV were just people on TV to me. I thought
Hmm.
as an actor you could have a theater career, and I knew I could do that. But when you mentioned the idea of being in TVs and films, you're like, that's what Tom Cruise did. I can't be Tom Cruise. You can't be on TV. It just seemed so alien. And I remember um, I took it really seriously when I got into the National Youth Theatre. And I remember my dad, who's a welder, I love him dearly. This is not throwing him under the bus because it's actually got a lovely ending. But he came to see me in a play because the orchestra, he knew the drummer. He worked with the drummer in the orchestra, and his name was Sticks. And he was like, yeah, I'll come along, see Sticks for a pint afterwards. He thought it was just some weird little pipe dream of mine, and then I came off stage afterwards, saw them in the bar afterwards, and never seen my dad in tears. He was like, "I'm so proud of you. I didn't know you could do this," and I was like, "Whoa!" But again was theatre. So when I got my agent in England, started doing Doctor Who and doing bit parts in little TV shows in England, still kind of thought the idea of being on American television and in movies was kind of just not accessible. Um, when I first got an American agent, and I went over to meet him, and he said, "Hey, let's think about this. I like what I've seen. I like what you've done so far. I'll call you tomorrow and let's go from there." And I was like, "Oh, call him tomorrow." I don't know. I'd come all the way out to Los Angeles, and he called in the morning and he said, "We want to take you on. We think you've got a lot of talent. We've already rang your English agent. And how long are you here for?" And I said, "Well, I can be here for the next 2 weeks." And he went, "You got an audition for No Country of Old Men tomorrow. You got to learn the lines." It was the Josh Brolin role. Obviously, I was too young to play that role, but from a kid coming from Melton Mowbray
That's
in arse end of
huge.
England, and I'm suddenly auditioning for the Coen brothers, and everything's changed since then. It's kind of been fantastic.
Yes, and the other thing too is once these casting directors get to know you and they obviously see you're talented, it's a small pool. They know you. Did parts start coming in after that as far as auditions? Obviously, booking it is a different thing, but to get in the room is like half of the battle, right?
It is, and I've had to change the way I see auditions as well because it's weird when you do theatre auditions, you're kind of told to kind of go and not learn any of the lines. It's a workshop with the director, and it's no one's expecting a finished product. Whereas over here in Los Angeles, TV and movies, they want you off book, they want you to perform it, they make a decision there and then. There's so many actors that you have to be like, I'm not auditioning; it's an opportunity. It's just an opportunity. I've got another opportunity today, so you've got to just perform. It's like doing a little miniature play, and whether that play goes on for the next 3 months on a movie set or it's just a 1 day gig that you got to do in front of three producers and a casting director, so be it. That's kind of, I always think we don't get paid to do the job. We get paid to do the rejection and the auditions, the opportunities. That's what you get paid for. You're lucky enough to be on set for 3 months, running around a forest, working with Stephen Dorff and Alec Baldwin or whoever it is at the time. You get to do that for free.
Yes, that is true. I've heard that many times. Ryan Gosling, I think, said you just kind of treat it like an exercise in acting because you show up, there's 20 of you that look like you, then there's like a Clive Standen type, and then there's like an archetype, and you
Yeah.
get into the room. I want to talk about this new film, particularly because your cast is so fantastic. What was that experience like for you, Clive, to work with some of these people and again to just experience something that's so unique and different with this film in particular?
It was great. It was at a time when, the actors, SAG members, we didn't know if we were striking or not. We managed to just get it in. And I think we managed to get a great cast assembled because people were like, we don't know, we're not going to work for another 6 months, 8 months to a year. It's good just to flex your muscles, just be on set, let's make the most of it. And when we all got on set, it was a great camaraderie because we filmed it in Vancouver Island, which is beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I haven't, but I've heard many things about it and seen many films,
when you
that
get
are
left
made there.
alone, there's no kind of there is little towns and communities, but it felt like the whole place was a movie set. We could just get around, do everything. There were black bears, elk, mooses, anything that was around from nature. There was like no acting required at times, but we all just mucked in together because there was no one else around. There was one bar in town, and it was great. And tough schedule. I don't know how many days we did in the end, but it was very, very short shoot for a movie. And it was just, go, 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 go. Like some films are, you must have heard it before. It's like hurry up and wait. You kind of get ready and then you wait around. There was no waiting on this. This was like if we're waiting around, we can be shooting something. Alec Baldwin and myself, we were in that car. I think they just released a trailer today. But that scene in particular, we were just driving around with cameras. We couldn't fit anyone in. Alec was like, just go. I'll drive until the fuel tank's on low, and we'll just do loads of different takes. We'll just keep getting what we need, switch the cameras around, just keep going, and it was great. It was good fun to just be to have great actors, so you have a budget, and also act like you back in like some guerrilla kind of filmmaking kind of scenario where you were like just keep shooting. And Brian Skiba, the director, is a soldier. I mean, he was not only a director, he was like, I mean, no disrespect to the first AD, because he was great too, but it was like you had two first ADs on set, as well as the director, as well as a cinematographer and extra cameraman. He would be holding the extra camera to get an extra angle while directing, while going, silence on set, we got to just do this now. He's a legend. So hopefully that hard
Yeah.
work shows on screen.
I would imagine though, when you have a heavy like that, the time is limited. There's not a lot of time to mess around. I've heard different scenarios where you're rehearsing for a few days and then you shoot, or you just come in, you better know your lines, Clive. You just got to deliver one, maybe two takes, and that's it. I've done background work in the past when I lived in New Mexico, so I have that experience. I know how intense it can be to like get a project done. Very cool stuff. I mean, you've had some amazing projects. Obviously, everything's great. Vikings stands out to me. That was such a great show that you got to be a part of. Camelot. And of course, Taken. That was so good and such a, you know, I don't know what your position or feelings are on that, but I enjoyed it. It was great while it lasted. I just remember the ending was so shockingly different. It was crazy. How did you get that job? What was your thoughts when you got presented to you knowing about the franchise and what role you would actually be playing, which you played very well, by the way. It was so good.
Thank you. I got approached first of all for it was I'd finished Vikings. I'd taken some time off from Vikings, and I just signed with CAA, the agency out here, and they presented me with a load of scripts, and they said just read through these. These are all the kind of TV pilots that are going in the next 3 months or whatever, and just don't ring us with the ones you don't like, but tell us the ones you do like. And I literally saw Taken, and I went, "Oh, who wants to see a TV show version of Taken?" And I passed over and started reading some other ones. And then I got a phone call from my agent saying, "Did you read the Taken one?" I went, "Yeah, it's just full of car chases and explosions. Not really, not for me." And he went, "Well, you didn't read it because it's written by Alex Carey, who is responsible for writing so many episodes of Homeland. It's a great script. And I take it you should probably read it tonight because they're offering you the role of Brian Mills." And I went, "Yeah." And I read it straight away. It's brilliant. And Alex has become a really close friend of mine. He's an incredible writer. He's responsible for the first season. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm really lucky that I think Alex had seen some of Vikings, but also I'm 6'3", which helps when you're playing a young Liam Neeson. It's just one of those things where they're all aligned. I wish my regret with that show is I wish we could have done one more season because it was the first time where I'm playing a lead in that way where I'm the whole premise of the film is this is a man who has a particular set of skills. And I was playing the younger version of him. So he can't obviously have those skills because it's boring if he's got all the answers. I wanted to have a guy that was learning this particular set of skills. So I tried to pace him. So in season one, he's a bit nerdy. He's eating his microwave dinners on his own. He's not really he's a blunt instrument. And then in season two, I wanted to just refine that a bit with the team around him. But we never got that season three where I could really just run with him and be that guy, the guy that Liam gets to play, and then to be the start of it. Now, if people had told me it was going to be a limited 26 episodes, I would have paced it perfectly. But I was holding back because you think you might go for 5 seasons. That's the tough thing when they decide to just cancel a show or, for whatever reasons they do it for. I think this was caught up in the Me Too thing. I don't know what happened, but yeah, that would be my main regret is that I wish I just ran with it a bit more and not held anything back if I'd known I was only going to get 26 episodes.
That is the ultimate universal power struggle with your business, the entertainment industry. You just don't know. It ended like what, around 2018, 2019, just
Yeah.
right before the pandemic started. I think that was the rumor for a long time is, oh, COVID is coming and they can't do this. It was great. I still have all those episodes on my DVR, by the way, and rewatched a few before our conversation because, and of course, Vikings and all the great projects. A couple more questions here. Again, the film is fantastic. I can't wait for people to watch it. Is there a role that you would ever go back to if given the opportunity? It could be any project that you've done that maybe outside of Taken, perhaps, or maybe, I don't know, that would be interesting to you to revisit maybe at some point.
This is a weird one. Because the obvious answer would be Rollo, because it's been such a fantastic character arc in Vikings. And I still think there's a story to be told in a spin-off show because I'm just a history buff. And what we did in Vikings is show the relatively compacted history of Vikings. But then they went over to Normandy, and the Duke of Normandy, who was Rollo, started a dynasty that went on for, the royal family wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the Duke of Normandy, and then William the Conqueror, obviously. So two generations from Rollo is William the Conqueror. So it'd be great if there was a show that was Vikings, the Norman conquests, and it starts with Rollo, and I hand over the baton to a young William the Conqueror who goes on, and then we'd go on that journey. Because in that timeline, for any Vikings fans watching this podcast, that timeline allows Ragnar to still be alive. Because if we pick up with
Yes.
Rollo when he leaves to go to France, and we don't know what happened to Ragnar in those, 12, 15 years where he went up to the top of the hut and his sons grew up. No one knows. So there's nothing to say he didn't go over to France and confront his brother one last time, two last times, And then Björn obviously has traveled over, and Halfdan and Harold go over with Rollo. So we can do all that. But the other side of that answer is there's one character I feel I never got the fair crack of the whip for is I did something for the BBC, Robin Hood.
Yes, I
I
remember.
was
That was such a good show. My
Yeah,
goodness.
so they brought me in to be the new Robin Hood. My character was called Archer. I was Robin's half brother. And they, for whatever reason, they wanted to shift it up, just like they do with Doctor Who. So and so, and they changed the Doctor. They were like, we're going to change the Robin, but we're going to bring him in how do you say it? Like in a quiet,
Yeah,
behind the
sort of
scenes
like
kind of
a
thing, half
backdoor
brother.
pilot, sort of
That's
like,
it, the back door. And they never made it because I think to be fair to I think most of the fans that have watched that show would know is they kind of fucked it up because they killed Maid Marian.
yes.
They kind of like Robin was like a kind of hoodie, kind of from the streets, and and it was all great, but you're gonna have to reboot the show and have to bring a new Maid Marian because we want to see Robin and Marian. But the idea was Archer was going to be there were so many Robin Hoods in history. The Robin of the Hood was just a name for a highwayman in the end. So they were like, Archer is a kind of pirate. He's just found out that his brother is Robin Hood. These guys are going to come after him. Robin's dead. So when they arrive and they're like, we're looking for Archer, he's going to be like, well, Archer's dead. I'm Robin Hood, and just take on the guys. And then we would have launched a new show, but there's still no Maid Marian, and they killed, the other kid, Will Scarlet gone, and so it's a tough one. And I think if it just played out differently, I grew up, as I told you, my first stunt job was in Sherwood Hot Forest. I love Robin Hood. It's part of my legacy and my childhood. So I'd love a chance to play Robin Hood. And I just found that Hugh Jackman is apparently playing some kind of Robin Hood in the movie. Can't compete with Hugh, but I still want in on that.
Interesting. I found the Russell Crowe vehicle to be really good. That was a fun one. And then, of course, that's the thing with some of these origin type stories and shows. Like, you have the challenge of telling a story that's good, but then also providing the fan service, so to speak, because there's people, like Taken, for example, we want to see Brian with his crew and his daughter, and that whole scenario, or perhaps Robin Hood or with Marion or any of these shows that you've been a part of throughout your career. Well, congratulations on all your success. Again, Camelot was another fun one for me. I enjoyed that. That was a bit of on the cutting edge side for stars at the time. They were really the forefront for those types of shows that were in the adult genre, so to speak, as far as entertainment that told good stories. But man, what a body of work. Hopefully, you're having a good summer now, able to rest a little bit and promote the new film and enjoy
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, there's no rest for me. I wish I did. I am about to get on a plane in a couple of days, go to Paris to do some more work with Focus Features, who are doing Space Marine 2 video game that gets launched in September. So
Yes.
finishing off that and doing the promos for that is very exciting. So I'm doing that, and then going back to do the morning show, season 4, which should be fun. Um,
Yeah, you're so great on that too. I could talk to you for hours. I know you're very busy. I don't want to take too much more of your time. Yeah, the morning show, of course, is fantastic. I cannot wait to see what comes about that. That's such a cool story for you. Space Marine 2, we were just at Denver Fan Expo and they were promoting that game there. Had a huge thing, and I saw your name attached with that. And they're like, yeah, the voice of this. And I'm like, I'm interviewing him when I come back from Denver Fan Expo. So, um, congratulations. Get some rest if you can. Enjoy your family. I know you're busy. It's easy for me to say, somebody that does this from home, but so many great projects. Can't wait to see the new film. Of course, Space Marine and the morning show. And I'm excited that got picked up for another season as well, because that was kind of up in the air for a while too, whether or not it was going to come back. So hopefully it's what, season 4 now you guys are in, yeah?
yeah, they just cast Jeremy Irons and who's that beautiful French actress? I can't remember her name all of a sudden. Oscar winner. Why can't I remember her name? That's awful.
I know who you're talking about, but the name escapes. That's how it is, my friend. You
Leon
you get
Rose. Um, anyway, yeah, exciting. Two idols there. Can't wait to meet them. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I have no idea. I haven't read any scripts or anything, so I got no gossip for that. But it's great it's coming back. It's such a well-oiled machine. Being on that set, it's everything goes so smoothly.
Yeah, we've had a couple cast members, ancillary characters from that show. It's just a fascinating show and so smart, and how they were able to take it from one theme to another and keep the story interesting for everybody. Adding your character was a lot of fun to watch too. Congratulations, Clive, on all your success. Thanks
Marion
for your
Courtier.
time.
I had to get it in because it feels so disrespectful. Marion Courtier. She's good.
Yes. Ugh.
There we go. I don't know why it was tip of my tongue.
I was going to Google it there for a second, but thank you so much, man. Enjoy yourself. Safe travels on everything. And we've put a lot of stuff out there in the universe, so we'll see what happens. But thank you for your time, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, man. Lots of respect.
Cheers.